I seen your videos and I hear a lot of your episodes, and I could tell right away, Jodi, you do have fun. You laugh. You're laughing right now. You're smiling. I mean, you're obviously having fun. And I obviously don't want to be on the podcast with somebody that has a very straight face and has a monotone voice and is not laughing.
I think it depends on what the topic is.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. Here's the second part of my conversation with Bruce Chamoff.
So what would you say to people who are not interested in monetizing? Like, what other reasons do you think are good for having a podcast? Because, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, but...
That's true.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that 90% of the people that I talk to all want to monetize. For the people that don't, sometimes I just don't know why. I mean, sometimes they just feel like they want to be famous. They want to be an influencer. Right?
Okay.
Maybe they're an expert in their field and they just want to educate people, right? That's a good thing. Education is cool. That's another good reason to have a podcast. Like I said, you're an expert in your field and you just want to share your knowledge and tell people that you're an expert, right? That's why they have TED Talks. Yeah, TED Talks is exactly that. But a lot of the TED Talks I hear, I don't even think the person's an expert. They're just somebody rambling on about a really cool topic. But then you listen to that person, you're like, but what is the expertise of that speaker, right? But if they have a podcast, they can probably establish that too. So yeah, education, expertise, just sometimes people just want to have fun and they want to laugh. They're fun. Yeah. They're funny. They're a comedian, but they can't break into stand-up comedy. So they have a podcast.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
And sort of going on from there, what suggestions do you have for people who are just getting into podcasting right now?
The biggest suggestion I have is have fun.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah. I mean, I seen your videos and I hear a lot of your episodes, and I could tell right away, Jodi, you do have fun. You laugh. You're laughing right now. You're smiling. I mean, you're obviously having fun. And I obviously don't want to be on the podcast with somebody that has a very straight face and has a monotone voice and is not laughing.
I think it depends on what the topic is.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, everybody I talk to in general thinks that podcasts are boring, right? Why are they boring? Well, I always say, okay, let me know what the episode is. And then I hear the episode and the podcaster is very, very dreary, right? Very, very monotone. They don't have that joy. They don't laugh. And yeah, I can see why people think that podcasts are boring. But you know what? When you listen to people laughing and having a good time, you laugh with them. You have a good time. And maybe you might just give them some money. I mean...
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's a lot of fun. That's what I tell people.
Yeah. Well, that's a good encouraging note to tell them. Yeah. I think that people need to know that. Yeah. I think a lot of people these days are a little worried about starting it now because they think maybe it's all passed them by already and it's too saturated and they, shouldn't bother. I don't know. I mean, I think that everyone deserves to have a voice and
I agree.
They should get themselves out there and just talk about something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things that I've seen a lot of people make a mistake about is starting something, and I'm just as guilty of this as anyone, starting something that you weren't as passionate about because you thought you should.
Right.
And then that goes nowhere. I had a podcast before this one that was only 30 episodes, I think. I mean, it was still over 7, but I made it past the usual drop off.
That's
but
good.
Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't going anywhere because it wasn't really my passion. So yeah.
What was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It was called Jodi's Silver Linings, and it was just a little popular wisdom kind of thing because I'm a little older and I've seen a few things and, just talking a little bit about how you don't need to take photos of everything. You could actually just experience the moment, or you don't have to be productive every second of the day. You could actually relax so that you're better later.
Yeah, that's a good point.
These kind of little things, right? But what happened for me was that I started getting asked to be a life coach.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, because, and you probably have experienced this too, when you have a podcast, people assume that you are an expert in whatever you're talking about on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I was just talking about regular everyday stuff, and people thought maybe I was an expert in that regular everyday stuff.
Hey.
But that was not where I wanted to take things. So I understood at that point that I was heading down the wrong road. Yeah. Have you had a podcast before the one that you started, or it's always been the same one?
No, like I said before, I had the Fresh Music series. Mm-hmm. So I was promoting local artists and things. That's kind of cool. But now, just running the podcast network, it's just more, it's more of a purpose for me to actually educate people in podcasting. So that's what I did. I figured there are so many music podcasts out there that is very competitive, right? And of course, there are a lot of podcasts out there on how to podcast. Adam Adams is one of them. Right.
Yes.
And he does a really good job at his. And I've been on his show. He's been on mine. And we do a lot of stuff together, right? With his service and the network.
Sure.
But I don't believe that type of podcast is as competitive as, let's say, music and sports and everything else. So it's kind of cool. But the Fresh Music series was a cool one for me. I had it on for a long time and promoted my own music. It was a lot. I think I took it down in like 2008.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while. Okay. Yeah. Got it. But you have a podcast now that's been going for how long?
For a year and a half.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And that one is called?
Become a Successful Podcaster.
Okay. There you go. You got into the whole podcasting thing.
That's the thing. Look, because like I said, people are asking me questions. I figure I might as well just answer them in an episode.
Sure, why not? Yeah. I kind of had the same revelation when I was starting this podcast, in that I did not want to start a voiceover podcast.
Right.
Because there's a lot of them, like you were saying about music. And it's probably not as competitive as music, but it's pretty competitive. And
that's cool.
I would prefer to interview my clients as opposed to my colleagues. So, yeah, that just made more sense to me.
Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast.
Speaking of audio, because that's what we talk about on here, we talk about sound and how powerful it is in influencing our behaviors. What do you think the sound of a podcast does? Like, is the sound of a podcast important?
Oh, absolutely. It is audio, and that's all it is. We have video podcasts, right? But from what I see, about 90% of podcasts are strictly audio.
Yeah.
So we have to, we don't have that visual. So the audio does have to be really on key. What obviously you have a very high standard for your guests that come on, right? And you have a producer, you have Sean. He does a great job helping the guests get set up. And what I did is I actually just took my snowball here and moved a little bit closer, so hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I did move, and I'm in the room right now, in my house where I don't have a rug, I don't have the foam on the wall, so obviously that's why all the echoes are coming in. And it took me a while for me to get the hang in this room of having a nice sound, and I'm right here now. Hopefully I do sound pretty good because I obviously can't tell. Yeah. So
the closer you are, the better it sounds because you get less of the room.
Yeah, exactly.
And more of your voice, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm going to put a couple of rugs down on the floor because I don't like putting the black foam up there. It's just ugly.
Oh, no. No. Even in my booth, actually, where I do the voiceovers, I don't have dark foam. I have like canvas light canvas, because the walls are like, 1.5 feet thick.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe not that much, but yeah, they're pretty thick. So all of the insulation is built into the thick walls. I don't necessarily have to have huge bits of foam on, So yeah, it works out well.
Well, I also, because I'm also a musician, I'm a singer, and as a matter of fact, my girlfriend, I just encouraged her to actually start singing with me. So we're in the middle of producing a new song that's actually, well, first of all, I had a new song go live today on Spotify called
Congratulations.
Life. Thank you. I try to put out a new song every 28 days because that's what Spotify wants. So we're working on a new song that I wrote. It's a rock song, and I had her singing. She is a singer. So now in this room, I do my podcasting, but I also do my recording. So I have an XLR microphone. Like, I don't sing into the snowball here.
Sure, yeah.
And we're very close up like this because obviously you cannot see me because this just looks kind of stupid. Right? But I can do it when I'm recording vocals. So I have an XLR mic different than this one. And it just sounds really good because we're so close to the mic. And I believe the XLRs are better than USB mics. Although USB mics are pretty good too. So that you won't hear any reverb on. But then in my DAW, I add whatever reverb I have to that way.
Okay. Well, at least you have more control over it that way, though. That's good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the music, and I hope that is tremendously successful. I mean, every 28 days having something new, that's pretty impressive.
It's a lot of work. The reason for that is that, and people that don't publish music on Spotify don't know, that nowadays, first of all, albums supposedly are not, like, they're coming back, but they're not as active as they were like in the 70s and the 80s because Spotify changed the entire game with that. They do not promote they don't promote more than one song off each album. And songwriters don't like that. So now everybody's coming out with singles so they can promote every single song that comes out. And what they do is they pitch those songs to Spotify. So Spotify will put those songs on the release radar. But if you don't come out with a song within 28 days of your last release of somebody, when you get a monthly listener, then that monthly listener drops off. And you lose that monthly listener. That's why you try to stay within that 28 days, because then if somebody has listened and they see on the release radar that, oh, this artist has a brand new song, I'm going to listen to it, and then you retain that user. That's why you stay within 20 days. But yeah, I get it. Like, it's very difficult to continue with that momentum of producing a song, because producing music is not quick.
No.
Right? So I know me, like myself, as soon as I publish a new song, I'm already published. Like, I'm basically working on the next one.
Yeah,
and that's what you got to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
you have to keep in touch with all of that and make sure that you have something new going. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what our current situation with social media has made us into too. I mean, we're all content creators, and we constantly have to be feeding the algorithm, right?
That's true. Yeah, we're all content creators. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I've talked about this before. I think we all have to have our own media empire.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do with the network.
Yeah. Well, I think
The
you're
World
doing a great
Podcast
job with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you working on now besides your music? What's going on with the network that you're hoping to unveil in the future that you can talk about?
Okay. No, that was great that you kind of hooked that in that you can talk about. That's
Yeah.
Well, we are working on a podcaster marketplace.
Okay.
So if you're just getting into podcasting, you want books, you want microphone, you want that wonderful looking microphone arm that you got, that you have hanging down right now.
Uh-huh.
We will be selling that. Obviously, it's all through affiliate sales. Right now we're doing Amazon. We added Temu, but I'm thinking of getting away from Temu because their products don't stay, right? We might just stick with Amazon and just take anything that podcasters can use. Books, like I said, electronics, the recording studios, the DAWs, the software, anything that makes podcasters successful and produce their shows. We're going to try to be successful with that marketplace. So that's the next project.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing more of that in the future.
Thank you.
And that will be fantastic.
Thanks for taking the time to listen. Quick question. Do you know anyone else who could benefit from hearing more about how powerful sound can be? If so, would you mind sharing this podcast with them? It would mean so much to me. Now, I'll stop interrupting and let you get back to the show.
How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to learn more?
Oh, they can get me on Instagram at Bruce Chamoff. They can find me on Facebook. I'm the only Bruce Chamoff in the world.
Isn't that handy?
It's handy, yeah. I mean, I have a huge family, and I have a lot of relatives that have the same name as other relatives. But so far, there's only one Bruce Chamoff, and it's kind of cool. But that might change one day in the future. I don't think, you know how every generation has its own names.
Yes.
I don't think people are being born with the name Bruce anymore, like now they got Brandon.
It's interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of Davids.
Yeah, exactly. Davids,
Like
Michaels, Davids, Michaels, and Toms, but I don't think anybody's
Chris.
Yeah. I mean, I know a couple of Jodis, but I don't think anybody is being born with those names anymore. Like now you got all the, the names I'll never understand. You got Ashley, and you got, and my daughter is her name is Brianna. There were no Briannas when I was a kid. It's like there were no I don't know, there were no Jacksons when I was a kid, unless they were Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
But there were no people that had the name Jackson as a first name. So now they're taking last names and making them first names now. It's kind of cool. But I
do think it's cool, actually.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I still don't understand it. Like, it's funny. Like, I don't think there's anybody being born with the name Bruce anymore. Jodi now. Like, I don't. Now it's Ashley and all those names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so people can find you.
Yeah, they can find me. They can find
enough.
me. Yeah, I'm Bruce Chamoff on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram. We just now launched an X page for the World Podcast Network. Mm-hmm. That's just World Podcast Net. I'm sorry, it's World Pod Net, and I have now hired a social media marketing manager named Cindy who's doing all that work. So she's getting us out there, and yeah, I think that's the best places. And of course, they can always just send a contact form submission on the World Podcast Network.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. And I can definitely attest to how useful it is to have a social media marketing person.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, there is
too much work.
So much. Yeah. I am so with you there.
I always say, social media is very easy to do, but it's very hard. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to do it correctly.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. So having someone in your corner doing that for you is a very, very good investment. Yeah. Especially if you really want your media empire.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Bruce. This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you coming onto the show with me.
Thank you, Jodi.
Thank you.
And we will talk, and you'll be on my show soon.
I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.